So the way I'm going to answer your question, Dom, is by transitioning us to the next topic, which I think will hopefully get us a better understanding of what's going on here. So first, let me set this up, then I'll give an answer. Stargate, Trump announces with SoftBank, Larry Ellison of Oracle, and OpenAI a new project which is going to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years in building out AI infrastructure for OpenAI in the United States. They said we will begin deploying $100 billion immediately. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the reindustrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies. So Palantir pumped 7% realistically this week because of this. I mean, the Dan Ives thing probably helped, but the initial 5% gain it got on Wednesday or Thursday morning, Wednesday morning, was because of this Tuesday announcement. So my answer to your question here is, do I think 90 is expensive? Yes, especially if we don't get the growth to be able to justify 90, which I would assume has to be 35 to 40% guidance. However, I kind of think Wall Street has come to the conclusion that there's 3 elements of AI that we can all make sense of: self-driving, robotics, and then enterprise software. And if we're spending $500 billion of CapEx, Microsoft said they're good for $80 billion, and Nadella said that a couple of days ago, and then Zuckerberg today said he's spending $65 billion. Microsoft spent $53 billion in 2024, so it's a dramatic upgrade, and Zuck spent about $48 billion, so now they're spending $65 billion, again, a dramatic upgrade. I think the street's looking at Palantir, and they're like, okay, there's no way we're building all these data centers, training all these models, getting all these new versions of GPUs, Blackwell, Hopper, etc., if we're not going to get use cases from them. And if we're going to get use cases from them, the one company out of all the software companies that should be getting the majority of the value of those use cases, at least in the words of Dan Ives, is Palantir. So, I mean, what's your perspective on that? Do you think the market's looking at all the AI CapEx spend, and I know Palantir doesn't necessarily directly benefit from it because they're not a hyperscaler, they're not selling GPUs, but is the market kind of like, well, Palantir is going to have to grow 40 to 50% if we're spending this much on AI CapEx?
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly institutions since they joined the S&P 500, have woken up and realized I have to pay attention to this company. I have to research it. I can't say it's a black box anymore and not invest. One, it's in part of the S&P 500, so a lot of funds have had to invest. So that automatically forces research on that. And I think a lot of people, once they pull back the covers, even though they don't probably understand the company like we do, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I don't think a lot of people have spent the amount of time that we have on learning about Palantir and interacting with their employees. But it's like when we first saw Palantir, like we were blown away, especially those who've worked in software or have invested and looked at different software companies. They're just on a whole nother level from the way they handle the business and the outcomes they do and how they operate. It's totally unique. And I mean, if you look at it, they went from 30% institutions to 51 in a rapid pace. And I think we may even see, a year from now, I could see it being 60%. So I think that institutions are waking up and realizing this is a company that will continue to play a big part in the Western evolution, and that's why. And they know that the military is going to get more spending, and with the administration that's at hand, more innovation is going to happen in the military. That is for sure. Sorry, Amir, I was talking long.
No, go ahead. That's why we have you on, to talk. People want to hear us talk. It's reasonable that the news played a role in the surge, but in practicality, I think we might see something different. Now, I don't believe this project itself is like that huge for Palantir. One, there is concerns about the funding from various sources. I haven't checked myself, but Elon says that, well, SoftBank only has 10 billion and so forth, but we know he has a negative bias towards Sam Altman. But also the news about the DeepSeek, where reportedly hobbyists are spending 6 million and have reached an LLM as capable as the current O1 models from OpenAI, is just baffling. It really puts into perspective that, well, people are spending all of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into training models, buying GPUs, capex spend. And these hobbyists from China just outcompeted everyone on like less than what a supercar costs for one of these like employees. Like, what is happening now? Of course, it is China. There could be a lot of accounting construing that like hides actual costs. So there's like propaganda involved, there is like misinformation involved. We don't actually know for sure, but the reports are, yeah, they spent 6 million on DeepSeek. It is as capable and in a much shorter time frame compared to everything we have in the West, basically. So I'm not sure about this $500 billion capex spend, especially when we're talking about Trump. Of course, he's not funding this project himself. They have Oracle, OpenAI, and SoftBank do that. But I really believe like if the industry will take a moment, step back and see like, okay, what are we actually getting for all this capex spend? So I think that might shake things up a bit. However,
Doesn't that give you a bullish indication too? Like, to your exact point, that question is so important. Yeah. What are we spending all this money and what are we getting for it? And I think for us being Palantir investors and us seeing the outcome it's already proven, and I haven't seen any other software company touting the kind of returns on investment that they've been able to show, it's almost like inevitable that like there's going to be a lot of, and you've seen this on X, there's a lot of companies that are going to fail, and they're going to fail quick and spend a lot of money and realize, wow, this doesn't deliver the value that my customers want. My customers are leaving us. And Palantir is going to be just sitting there like, hey, you pay with what you get. You know, you pay for what you get.
Yeah. I was going to say, while that project in particular, I don't know about the implications for Palantir. However, if we're talking like a bit broader in the sense of the Trump presidency, I believe that will be massively beneficial to Palantir, because the projected intentions from Trump is like, we are going to need to move fast. Like we need to reduce government monetary waste. We need to get more efficient. Obviously, Palantir is a proven way to become more efficient in your operation. So I think they will play a huge role across various parts of the government, not only be so DoD centered as they have been historically. I think an estimation from 2021 was that 77% of Palantir's US government revenue was actually the DoD. I made like from what's public, I can also see that a large majority of all the contracts is the DoD. I think that will diversify. I think we're going to integrate ourselves into more parts of the government. And we also need to keep in mind, David Sachs appointed the head of AI within the Trump administration. He's a Palantir shareholder. He's aware of the Palantir capabilities. So if we just leave this like, what is it called? Stargate? I forgot the name. It's called Stargate. Yeah. I don't know. Like there's some fishy stuff about that until like we actually start to see things move. I wouldn't put too much weight into it. Of course, it's good to be aware, keep track, see what's happening. But I think the Trump presidency and his intentions around all of these things is very bullish for Palantir. So I would like, for now, focus my research in that area, because I believe that there's a lot of expansion potential under the Trump administration within the government. So yeah, I'm really bullish for that.
That's actually the next topic I was going to get to. Trump just became president Monday. It kind of feels like a new vibe that is currently in the United States. Dom, I know you're breathing the American air. You feel a little different than over the past 4 years. What's your interpretation of the Trump administration's potential bull case and bear case for a company like Palantir?
Bear case. Well, the bear case would be that they don't get selected for a lot of things that we would assume that they would be involved in. I mean, they have so many ties to Trump, from Lonsdale to Peter Thiel to David Sachs to, I forget the gentleman who's heading up one of the other military pieces who's on the Palantir board. So people have seen what this software can do. Now, if that doesn't get expressed and decided on and politics come into play, that would be horrible. But I don't see that happening, because I think with this administration and what you've already seen start, it is very outcomes focused. And so I think we're going to see a lot of transformation. And from a business perspective, he understands where our country needs to be at. China really is, still one of the major threats out there. And AI is like the space race. AI is the space race now. And this is, I think, more dire, more impactful than what the space race was years ago. This is going to determine a lot about global dominance. So for the bull case, I really see us getting a lot more. Remember how you used to always say, I just want 1% of the government spend. I just want 1%. I think he's going to get a lot more than what people are evaluating and what they're saying. So I think from that side, we'll see a lot. But in commercial, it's still really early innings. I know once someone posted their hat on, they said they go to the gym every day and nobody knows what it is. Like one person said, and I comment on there, I said, yeah, I was like, I work in technology and I'll bring it up at every customer call just to see if they know what it is. And they don't. And then I go on my spiel. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there it is.
Amir, what's your interpretation of the Trump admin on Palantir?
Yeah, I mentioned some things just now, but also I want to talk about the broader implications as well under Trump. He recently had a speech. He wasn't actually present in Davos, but he pretty much demolished the EU for its heavy regulations. And he really tore a new one. Like, EU is not business friendly. Everyone is moving out of Europe. So I think if we can reinvigorate Europe, that's also a new opportunity for Palantir, because these stats are like, if I'm bearish about something with Palantir, it is these stats. 6 out of the 9 past quarters, so 2/3, international commercial revenue has actually been declining quarter over quarter. Now, for 3 quarters in a row, international commercial revenue has been shrinking, like declining, minus. Like putting declining revenue and Palantir in the same sentence, that's kind of scary. Like, Europe is in some deep trouble, and Trump, he just really put them on blast. If you listen to that Davos speech, like, he really demolished them. So I think both within the US, he's really clear with what he wants to do. He wants to move fast. He wants to become more efficient. He wants the West to be stronger. Well, the US, but it will also impact the West as a large. And I think it's really positive, disregarding the government itself. Just the I think I'm trying to remember who it was, but Druckenmiller went on and said that every business leader that he's been talking to is really bullish, because now actually they can start to grow their businesses. Like, this admin is really friendly to businesses, and it's starting to show. Like, as you mentioned, he's only been here for a week now, and it's like a completely different feeling surrounding. I think my daughter woke up. She might walk in here in a second. But yeah, I'm really bullish.
Yeah. Well, I think also what's interesting about this is that we have the $500 billion that Trump announced. Then at Davos, he also said NATO countries need to spend 5% or more of their GDP on defense. And I think right now they're doing less than 2%. So if they do start spending money, we know Palantir has a very antagonistic relationship, as per Carp, with Germany, France, etc. Dom, if they start spending on defense, I think Palantir catches a bid from that.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I mean, I think people have definitely paid attention to. They were the first in Ukraine. They've been involved the entire way and are still there, helping from not just the war piece, but all the rebuilding efforts that it's going to take, and the software to help them make those right decisions and maximize those efficiencies with the money they get. So the Germans know what it can do, even if they have their beef with Palantir and everything else. The NHS had their beef with Palantir, and look, they're back using it. So if they choose to innovate and choose to spend money and realize that they have to push forward in that area, there's no other choice. I mean, that's going to give them the results. I mean, they can go waste their money or try to build it themselves, but that's going to they're not going to get there.
Yeah, and this is kind of highlighting what you're saying as well. We got this update from Lewis Mosley, who's the head of Palantir at UK. So he said in the Times tomorrow, Palantir is going to be mentioned with some of their AI platform being used with the police forces in the United Kingdom. And this part from the article says, needle in a haystack connections that could have never been spotted by human detectives are being made by the AI. The results are incredible, says Roddenhurst, who is also the national police lead on serious and organized crime. If this were in every region overnight, you would join up policing for serious and organized crime, and I think that would be very powerful. When people ask him how he can afford to spend money on technology when resources are tight, he replies, I can't afford not to. If that is the energy that we're going to get across Europe, in Germany, France, we know the German police have started to use a little bit of Palantir as per last year. We should be able to get European growth or international growth just at a higher level. And the question is just going to be when that ends up playing through into Palantir's guidance. Okay, so that's what we got from the government angle.